In the grand story of Hollywood, there are few names that still echo with raw power. Men whose presence alone could fill the screen, whose voices carried both thunder and warmth. Burt Reynolds and Clint Walker were two of those men. They were cut from the same American fabric, tough, fearless, and utterly magnetic. Yet behind the fame, behind the laughter and fast cars, was a silence that lasted decades. A silence that only one man could finally break. Before his passing, Burt Reynolds looked back on his life and the people who shaped it. And for the first time, he spoke from the heart about his quiet admiration for a man he called one of the last real cowboys. This is that confession. The untold truth about Burt Reynolds and Clint Walker, two titans who defined an era. Burt Reynolds was born Burton Leon Reynolds Jr. on February 11, 1936, in Lansing, Michigan. His father, Burton Milo Reynolds, was a no-nonsense police chief, strict, fearless, and devoted to service. His mother, Harriet Furnett, was gentle and artistic, the heart that balanced the steel in the family. When the family moved south to Riviera Beach, Florida, young Burt found himself drawn to motion, to the wind, to the field, to the thrill of running faster than anyone else. Football became his obsession, his language, his identity. At Florida State University, he was a star halfback, strong, confident, and destined for greatness. Coaches predicted a professional career. Scouts took notice. Burt could see it all in front of him. The lights, the glory, the applause. But fate, in its cruel precision, had other plans. A violent collision shattered his knee, and with it the life he'd imagined. Dreams of stadiums turned to the quiet hum of hospital rooms. The athlete disappeared overnight, replaced by uncertainty. In his own words, when you're young, you think pain is temporary. Then one day you realize it's the thing that changes you forever. That injury didn't just end his football career. It set him on a new path, one that would make him a legend. After drifting through community college and a series of odd jobs, Burt was lost. Until a professor, an English teacher who saw something in him, urged him to try acting. "You've got presence," the teacher said. "Try the stage, see what happens." It sounded absurd at first. But when Burt stepped under those hot theater lights for the first time, something stirred. For the first time since football, he felt alive again. That single spark ignited the fire that would define his entire life. The Hollywood of the 1950s wasn't kind to dreamers. Burt arrived with charm and ambition, but so did 1,000 others. He took whatever roles he could find: Western extras, nameless soldiers, men who walked on screen and vanished a minute later. Shows like Gunsmoke and Riverboat gave him his first real exposure, though the pay was small and the recognition even smaller. Casting directors saw him as another pretty face, a man with too much confidence and not enough experience. But what they didn't see was the grit behind the grin. Burt once said, "If you don't laugh, you'll break," and that became his survival code. He turned rejection into humor, failure into fuel. Every time a door closed, he kicked open another. Slowly, his quick wit and undeniable charisma began to set him apart. People didn't just see him, they felt him. And then came 1972, the year everything changed. Deliverance. A film that stripped away the Hollywood gloss and showed audiences the raw, terrifying reality of survival. In it, Reynolds was not the charming trickster or the romantic lead. He was primal, broken, human. His performance was fearless, confronting pain and vulnerability in equal measure. The critics called it a revelation. For the first time, the world saw beyond the mustache and the charm. They saw the actor, the man, the truth. Deliverance wasn't just a movie, it was his awakening. The 1970s belonged to Burt Reynolds. There was no one like him, not before and not since. With Smokey and the Bandit, The Longest Yard, and Hooper, he became the very definition of cool. The mustache, the laugh, the car chases. But it wasn't the stunts that made him iconic. It was the heart behind the swagger. He represented something America needed, a hero who didn't take himself too seriously. He could laugh at the chaos and still win the day. He was every man's friend and every woman's fantasy, the perfect blend of danger and charm. He made audiences feel like they knew him. But while the world cheered, Burt often stood alone. The price of fame was silence, Silence in love, in trust, in rest. He once confessed, "Everyone wanted Burt Reynolds, but sometimes I just wanted to be Burt." Behind every smile was the echo of something missing. And soon, that emptiness would come knocking again, not on a movie set, but in his heart. The first time Burt married, he did it for love, or what he thought was love. Her name was Judy Carne, a fiery, talented British actress whose laughter could fill a room. They married in 1963, young and ambitious, believing they could take on the world together. But Hollywood has a way of testing the strongest bonds. Schedules, fame, ego, and pride, they built walls faster than either could tear them down. Within 2 years, it was over. No scandal, no betrayal, just two people too young to understand the cost of chasing dreams. "I wasn't ready to be married," he later admitted. "I didn't know how to love someone when I didn't even know myself." He threw himself back into work, film after film, smile after smile, masking heartbreak with humor. The world saw a man at the top of his game. Inside, he was just trying not to fall apart. Then came Lonnie Anderson, the woman who seemed for a while to complete the story. She was stunning, confident, and adored by millions. When they married in 1988, the press called it a Hollywood dream come true. 2 stars, 1 spotlight. But perfection is a lie. Behind the red carpets and bright flashes, cracks began to form. Money, jealousy, betrayal, it all became too much. By 1994, their love story turned into a headline war. Burt accused her of greed. She accused him of cruelty. The tabloids turned their heartbreak into entertainment. It was brutal, public, humiliating. And when it was finally over, he said, "That divorce nearly broke me. Not because of what I lost, but because I still loved her." Time softened the anger, but not the sadness. In the end, he called her one of the greatest loves of his life, and one of his greatest regrets. For decades, fans compared Burt Reynolds to another Hollywood giant, Clint Walker. Both were tall, strong, and unshakably masculine. Both defined what it meant to be a man of the Old West. But few knew the truth about what Reynolds really thought of him. It wasn't rivalry, it was respect. "I remember watching Clint on Cheyenne," Burt said later in life. "He was everything a cowboy should be. Quiet, powerful, decent. I wanted to be that." While Burt was hustling for bit parts, Clint was already a television legend. At 6'6", with a voice like rolling thunder, Walker became a symbol of the American hero, strong but gentle, stoic but kind. Burt admitted he envied him. "He had a calm I never had. I was always the guy cracking jokes, hiding behind humor. Clint didn't need that. He was just solid." When they met in person, any sense of competition vanished. "Clint wasn't just muscle," Reynolds said. "He was one of the kindest, most genuine men I ever met. Hollywood didn't change him. He stayed real." They crossed paths at award shows, charity events, and studio functions. Every time, Clint would greet him like an old friend. No ego, no pretense. "He'd ask how I was, how my folks were, and he meant it," Burt recalled. "That's rare in this business." The two even joked about doing a Western together. He'd be the hero, Burt laughed, and I'd be the loudmouth who got us both in trouble. It never happened. Timing, as always, got in the way. But the admiration remained. When asked who would win in a fight, Burt chuckled. "Clint, no question. He could have snapped me in half, but he wouldn't. He didn't need to prove anything. His strength wasn't physical, it was who he was." And that, more than any film or fame, was what Reynolds envied most. A man who didn't have to fight for respect because he earned it quietly. "Guys like Clint Walker," he said, "they don't make them anymore." In his final years, Reynolds grew reflective. The bravado that once defined him gave way to wisdom, gratitude, and peace. He still worked, still laughed, still loved the craft that saved him. But when he spoke of heroes, his voice softened, especially when mentioning Clint Walker. "He was a real man," Burt said. "Strong, kind, and humble. That's a rare thing now. If there's a heaven, I hope he's up there, riding tall in the saddle." On September 6, 2018, Burt Reynolds passed away quietly in Jupiter, Florida. He was 82. The man who had once made the world laugh, now left it in silence. His ex-wife, Lonnie Anderson, and their son, Quentin, arranged a private service. No cameras, no red carpets, just friends, family, and stories filled with warmth. It was simple, just how Burt wanted. People remembered the jokes, the laughter, the pranks on set, but more than that, they remembered his loyalty, his heart. At the service, Quentin spoke softly. "My father wasn't just an actor. He was a man who made you feel like you mattered, and that's rare." Those who knew him best said it felt less like a funeral and more like a reunion. Laughter through tears, love through loss. Because Burt Reynolds didn't just act in movies, he lived them. He was the rebel, the lover, the joker, the cowboy, and above all, the man who never stopped chasing life. And somewhere beyond the horizon, maybe, just maybe, Burt and Clint are still riding together. Two cowboys from a vanished world, laughing beneath a sky that never fades. If you remember Burt Reynolds and Clint Walker, if their films ever made you laugh, cry, or dream, press like as a tribute to these timeless legends. Tell us in the comments. Which Burt Reynolds or Clint Walker film still lives in your heart today? Because men like them don't just fade away. They ride on, in film, in memory, and in the stories we'll keep telling forever.